some quick thoughts on China's chip ban, and Microsoft's hiring of Inflection's talent. This is Mac Voices. Mac Voices is supported by MacVoices Magazine, our free magazine on Flipboard and on the web. Want to cut through all the noise and find out what you can do with your Apple gear? MacVoices Magazine focuses on just that, aggregating the best how-to articles and information. Get it by searching for Mac Voices in the Flipboard app or visiting macvoices.com/magazine. So, China has banned Intel and AMD processors in government computers.
Huh?
It seems like a tit for tat. I mean, after we did our banning over there, they're doing their banning over on us. So,
Which was predictable.
yeah.
So what are they going to use?
What's left?
Abacuses?
It doesn't say anything
mentions-
about M3 processors. My thinking is they're cutting off, and of course they're going to release Vision Pro there sometime in the next year. So it seems kind of weird that they're cutting off their own tech, the potential for them to have technology advances based on what's doing in the West.
It's not Chinese; it's Taiwan.
Well, I wish Mark was here because he had posted something, I believe it was on X earlier, that his reading of this was something to the effect that, okay, so we've now stolen a sufficient number of processor designs from Intel and AMD that we can make our own versions, and so we no longer need them.
Well,
Now,
they
that's
do have
pretty
18
strong.
different approved chip makers, including Huawei and Phytium. So, yeah, I mean, if they have the manufacturing facilities and they have the designs, they can make whatever they want.
Well, my question is, what is the architecture of what these processors are, and what software are they going to run on them?
They'll steal it.
Well,
what do you mean? They're going to steal what? They can't run Windows.
They can build their own knockoff version of Windows.
sure.
Uh,
How many knockoffs have they already built?
Isn't that what North
that's,
Korea is already doing? They've
yeah,
taken
I'm sure
Windows and created their own
they've stolen
knockoff of it.
They've
Yeah, they
stolen
stole it. Yeah, they stole it.
But, I don't think the Chinese are going to do that because, if you steal Windows, then you're still using Windows code that you don't understand. That does not sound like a smart security position to be in. So I would think China is, maybe they're going to use some variant of Linux or, there's been some other, I think the Russians tried to do this at some point. Not sure it really worked. But
No,
China,
they totally did it.
maybe they could pull it. Well, no, because they still, they said they did it, but then there was, still a whole bunch of stuff that was, on the QT. It was really running on Windows.
Oh, those crafty people.
No.
So in the chat room, Guy Searle, who also couldn't be with us, but he's there too. Half the panel's in that chat room. He and Eric both said Linux, almost on top of each other. And Guy
could be.
Yeah, Guy added Red Star OS, which is Linux made to look like the Mac OS. So it's so easy to believe the worst about China and some of this, and probably some of it is political retaliation. On the other hand, though, they have to have answered these questions. They can't just.
I'm
shut
sure
down
they
their
have.
country.
I mean, if I was China, I would want to not use software written in America too. Just like we don't really wouldn't want to use an operating system from China, especially in the government.
Yeah. So, let's see. Guy says North Korea Red Star OS, and Eric says GPUs are a problem. just I saw it and I thought it was interesting that we're it seems like as we go to more of a global market that we're fighting over things more than cooperating, and that's
Good old nationalism.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't come back to bite us too hard then. This one, I'm anxious to see what everybody thinks of this. I don't know if you follow this or not. Throwing it in the chat rooms now. But Microsoft has hired the Inflection founders to run a new consumer AI division. And if I remember correctly, just today, they reshuffled Microsoft reshuffled the AI division to put some of the Inflection people at the very top. So they hired the co-founders and several of the colleagues, and basically did a brain dump right out of Inflection without purchasing the company. They just took the people.
That's some pretty big checks they wrote.
Well, it's Microsoft, and yeah, but on the other hand, it brings up an interesting thought here that this meant that a purchase of Inflection was not subject to any oversight review. And any questions over monopolistic practices, shall we say? Where did we heard that earlier tonight? So, yeah. I mean, and also this comes, after the big hassle with Apple allegedly hiring people and having them bring their expertise into the company.
Yeah,
and
go
ahead, Ben.
Also, the people behind Inflection were the people who founded Google's DeepMind division.
Right. So, I mean, the articles I read says that this is like, these are rock stars in the AI world, and these are like, well, to go back up to our baseball discussion earlier, somebody helped me out with like a Major League Baseball acquisition.
They turned into the Yankees. Basically, they purchased all the good players. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say Shohei Ohtani without the gambling accusations.
Okay, so even I know who that is.
Or the Dodgers.
Yeah, the Dodgers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, so is this okay?
Well, we haven't seen the DOJ flip out yet, so apparently, yes.
Nope.
Yeah, this was a talent acquisition. This was not an asset acquisition. This was hiring smart people. So
yeah,
right. But hiring the smart people, they avoid the questions that would be asked if they were trying to buy Inflection.
Agreed.
Welcome to the Sherman Antitrust Act.
So did we just come the whole way around to Ben's theory that, the Sherman Antitrust Act is no longer valid, or that the companies have found ways around it?
Companies have always found a way around the Sherman Antitrust Act ever since it was enacted, and that will continue to be the case. And there have been complaints from lawmakers about the Antitrust Act pretty much since it was enacted, and
in 1880.
Yeah. So this is nothing new, and finding ways to bend around the spirit so that you can remain compliant with the letter. Well, there you go. And this is not something that's limited just to this part of the business world. I mean, companies, governments are always looking to figure out how they can work the system to their advantage. So there you go.
Yeah, and let's be honest, these guys have probably been on Microsoft's radar for a while, but it's a lot easier to poach them from a tiny startup that than it is one of their largest competitors. Well, their largest competitor.
So they had to leave Google in order to start their own company so then Microsoft could poach them. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So let's see. So now Microsoft has acquired this talent. They own, what is it, 13% of OpenAI? Or am I confusing ownership with billions of dollars? I'm not sure.
Either way,
Well, they have an
hedging
equity position. Yeah.
Either way, they're hedging their bets in multiple directions here.
Okay. Anybody else before we move on? Any thoughts? No? Okay.
This is,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying all the things in the article talk about sought to develop AI systems that can engage in open-ended dialogue, answer questions, and assist with a variety of tasks. And I thought, isn't this what the S lady was supposed to do?
Well, isn't that what all the smart assistants are supposed to do? Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.